Hey, what is up guys? We're going to be doing a deck profile for the Lair of Darkness slash Predaplant deck profile. So this is a mix between obviously the Darkest Diabolos deck and a bit of a small engine from the Predaplant. So very little Predaplants here, but it turns out that for a lot of different dark decks, Predaplants are actually becoming a really good engine for this, and you know, obviously I'm going to make a pure Predaplant deck, but so far I've been having so much fun actually using them as engines in different dark decks, and it's been working out quite well. So let's just get started with this deck profile. Obviously the main focus is meant to be Darkest Diabolos and the Lord of the Lair deck instead. So we're going to be starting off with 3 copies of Darkest Diabolos, Lord of the Lair. Definitely a really great card, our main boss monster, and I definitely think he's worth playing 3 of. We're also playing 3 copies of Lilith, Lady of Lament. Obviously, we have a bunch of trap cards that we just want to set, and, you know, Darkest Diabolos deck will always play 3 copies of her. I think she's quite important. And speaking of that, we're also playing an Arima, the Wicked Warden, great card to help you draw, and also your Terraforming to search for your Lair of Darkness. Really great card there. We are also playing 1 copy of Dark Shade, the Sinister Shadow Lord. This card obviously is kind of like the mini Kaiju in your deck. You know, I play only 1 copy of it, so you don't really need that many there. But he's still a really great card to have. We're also going to be throwing in 1 copy of Tour Guide because we are playing Lilith, so figure out, you know, just play this, bring out a Lady Lilith, and go for some link plays or even fusion plays in this particular build here, so it's definitely quite nice indeed. Now let's move on to the Predaplant engine. Just 5 monsters really, playing 3 copies of Predaplant, Clamato Sundu. Obviously it can fusion summon without using any polymerizations or fusion cards, just himself, so it's definitely quite nice to actually have 3 copies of him. He does all the work really. We kind of have a hand trap Predaplant Saracenian, really nice card, because when it's destroyed, not only do you get to get rid of your opponent's monsters, but you can also search for a Predap card from your deck and add it to your hand, so it's definitely quite nice to actually have that. And speaking of Predap cards, let's move on to a bit of the spells as well. We are playing 2 copies of Predap Pruning, so searchable by Saracenian, and of course it's like a monster reborn to bring back some of your Predaplant fusion monsters, which is definitely quite nice. We are also playing 1 Foolish Burial because we can get rid of some certain cards like Darkest Diabolos to the graveyard. We're also playing 3 copies of Lair of Darkness, of course, one of the main cards we're meant to be playing in this deck, so yeah, I think since we're not playing Terraforming and we're only playing the Arima and the Lair of Darkness, I figure 3 copies of it is definitely going to work out pretty well here. Playing 3 copies of Lair of Darkness, you want a bit of draw power, right? So your whole deck is all dark monsters, even the Predaplant, so it definitely works quite nicely. We're also playing 1 copy of Super Polymerization. This card is amazing. Your opponent can't respond to it, and you can also just use their monsters as well. So definitely works quite well in this deck here. Also playing 2 copies of Refusion. Refusion allows you to again bring back the fusion monsters. Since we're mixing in Predaplants with dark monsters, we can obviously go for a lot of the fusion monsters, and Refusion's just been working out pretty well for me in a lot of my decks that utilize fusion monsters. Playing 2 copies of Trade-In. We only have 3 targets, so only playing 2. Sometimes it could be a dead card if you happen to get rid of all of them from your deck, but overall it's just to help with a bit of consistency alongside a Law of Darkness. Playing 2 Called by the Grave because I am not a fan of hand traps. You know, there's so many hand traps stopping my Clamato Sundu, stuff stopping me like Lilith or my Arimas. It's kind of unfortunate to see that happen. Maybe even my draw power is being stopped by an Ash, so Called by the Grave definitely works quite well, and only playing 2 because we obviously want to make space for trap cards as well. Alright, so being a Lair of Darkness deck, we're obviously going to have a lot of trap cards, especially the viruses, so I'm going to be playing 2 copies of Full Force Virus. Keep in mind your fusion monsters can also be used as well, since we have a lot of dark fusion monsters with different high attacks and defenses, so Full Force Virus at 2, definitely a very nice card. Also spells and traps, very dangerous, so we're going to be playing 2 copies of Eradicator here. Definitely think that's going to be really nice as well. Playing 1 Deck Devastation Virus, just going for the big variety here, and playing 1 Grinning Grave Virus. Not as great as it was hyped up to be, but I might just make a separate video talking about that card. But yeah, I'm just going to be playing 1 of that, and yeah, it provides a good variety of different things. We're also going to be playing 2 copies of Lost Wind, because it technically can act as a 4th copy as well, and against Thunder Dragons, this card definitely works so amazingly. I am actually glad I am playing this card. Way better than Infinite Impermanence in this particular format against Thunder Dragons, so yeah, I really like this card here. Alright, so the extra deck. You guys must be really curious about what I'm actually playing in here. I am playing 2 copies of Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. This card is obviously very easy, requires a Predaplant monster as well as 1 Dark monster whose original level is 8 or higher. Your main target is obviously your Darkest Diabolos, so it definitely works really amazingly when you play 2 of them. We're also playing 2 copies of a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Obviously just need 2 monsters on the field that are dark, except tokens, so it definitely works quite nicely there. Also playing 3 copies of Chimera Flesia. Honestly, we don't need to play 3. I think it's a bit excessive there, but overall, I think it's still fine that we can go for 3 of them. We just have a lot of space in the extra deck, so feel free to put whatever link monsters you want, like Borreload or Borrelsword as well, if you have any of those, of course. We're also playing 2 Dragostapelia. 2 copies of this definitely works well, a fusion monster and a dark monster. So definitely go into any of these and then just use them as materials with another dark monster and you pretty much get it. So it's definitely quite nice, and keep in mind we have super polymerization, so we can always use our opponent's monsters as well. For link monsters, we're playing a Nightmare Phoenix, just a bit of utility, Nightmare Cerberus, and Underclock Taker, great card to help you OTK your opponents. We're playing Summon Sorceress, because although we have Fiends on one side, we also have Plants on one side as well. And we also have a Decode Talker, and we also have a Yugioh as well. So definitely a good variety of things that you can definitely try out in this deck, and it's definitely quite fun. But the whole purpose really is the Greedy Venom is working incredibly well because it synergizes with the Diabolos. And so far I've been having so much fun testing out Predaplants in different dark decks, but of course I will be making a pure variant, so do stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.